saying is that fences make for good neighbors. In the eyes of our Creator, what else might fences be positively used for? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4 of the double Torah portion, Acharei Kedoshim, after the death and set apart ones. Let's go to Leviticus or Vayikra chapter number 18 and begin reading with verse number 1. Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, I am Yahweh your Elohim. Why does he say that? Because what follows, they may not understand. They should understand, but they may not understand given their recent history. And they may not appreciate in light of where they're going. But nevertheless, he is Yahweh Elohim, and therefore pay attention. Verse 2, Do not do as they do in the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt, where you dwelt. And do not do as they do in the land of Canaan or Canaan, where I am bringing you, and do not walk in their laws. Do my right rulings and guard my laws to walk in them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. And you shall guard my laws and my right rulings, which a man does and lives by them. I am Yahweh. Now, what follows is a long list of, how do we say this politely, and even in video mixed company, improper relationships of the intimate nature. There, maybe that covers it. So we're in a land of exile. Whether you recognize that or not, we say, well, we were born Americans. You know, my family came here X number of years ago. We've been here so many generations. I was born an American, I'll die an American. Well, we are Americans by land of birth and by culture and by history. But in all reality, being adopted into the family of Yahweh through Yeshua, our Messiah, this is not the land of our destiny. The land of the Middle East, the land of Israel, the covenant land of Israel, promised to Abraham all the way back in Bereshit of Genesis chapter number 15, if I'm not mistaken. Goes back a long ways, and he says, I will give to you and to your seed, your generations after you, this land from the river of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, we presume the Nile is what was referenced, all the way to the Euphrates, which currently flows to the land of Iraq. And so there is a large land mass that has been promised to Abraham, to his seed, to his descendants. And that is where Yeshua will centralize the reign of his kingdom. America will not be the world's superpower. There will be no other superpower in that day except for Israel. America may be yet a beautiful land, as is other countries, perhaps. We will see where judgment leaves things. But the land of central focus, the land that the eyes of all of the earth will be looking toward, will be the land of Israel. We're not there yet. We're still in a land of exile. Just as Israel lived in Egypt or Mitzrayim in exile, just as they lived in Babylon in exile, we are now in, thankfully, this beautiful country called America, and we are in exile. This is not our ultimate destiny. We are yet here, and we are surrounded by a Greco-Roman culture, not a Hebrew culture, and we are exposed and overrun and inundated by cultural norms that are not acceptable according to the precepts and commands of the Torah. Why, then, is it necessary for Yah to tell me in his Torah that I should not have sexual relationships with parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, my mother-in-law? Why is that necessary? Why does the Torah go through this long illicit relationship list and tell me don't unclothe them, don't have relationships with them of an intimate nature, don't do that? Well, if you go down to verses 27 through 30, he says, because the men of the land who are before you have done all these abominations, and thus the land is become defiled. So let not the land vomit you out for defiling it, as it vomited out the nations that were before you. For whoever does in these abominations, those beings who do them shall be cut off from among their people. But he says, you are to guard my charge and not do any of these abominable things. Why does he tell us that we should not engage in these unthinkable practices? Because people do this kind of stuff. Man left to his own devices will sink to the lowest ebbs of possible depravity, and then he will get out a shovel and try to find a deeper depth. Man in his perverted minds cannot plumb the bottom far enough to say, that's as far as I'll go. In Romans chapter number 1, when we exchange the reality of Yahweh or Elohim for something of our own imagination or a recreation of who we think he ought to be, he says, I will give you over to a weird, perverted, adulterated mind. You will become crazy. You will be insane. And you will begin to do unthinkable things with one another. Because you have changed me, I will let you go and you will be changed. The reality is, Yah is holding humanity back from itself, whether we realize it or not. But we find then that such things as, let's go, something as common as adultery. Do you realize that on the law books in many places in this nation, adultery is still against the law? How often are people arrested for adultery? It's rare if you ever hear of that. No one is put in jail for adultery anymore, but it's extremely common. Children, he says, should not be given into the fire of Molech. And we think, well, no one's burning their children in the fire anymore. No, but we are aborting them. And the root sin is one and the same. And it used to be that there was a problem with abortion. It's not anymore. It's legal, it's applauded, it's encouraged, it's acceptable. Homosexuality is a practice that used to get people in jail. It used to shun them from society. It used to be extremely frowned upon. It used to be an abhorrent act, unthinkable act. Now, today, it's not only widely acceptable, it's promoted to our children. It's promoted to our children in grade school, sometimes as early as the beginning years, where children are asked questions about why they like boys and why they like girls, etc. So the commonly accepted explanation is, well, God made me this way, so there is my excuse. No, he didn't, and you have no excuse. We used to be one to speak out against homosexuality, but today you're in more trouble for speaking out against it than you are for practicing it. You come down to the end of this list and we talk about sorcery and we talk about bestiality. And we think, nobody is really applauding or promoting bestiality. Give it time. It's coming. And you're going to be forced to accept, well, this is just the norm as well. How sick, how depraved can man become? Why does Yah set up these fences? Because if he didn't, man would destroy himself. Man would pollute his mind to the place that he would be beyond redemption. Yah has built walls. He has built fences. He has described for us righteous boundaries so that you and I might seek them and observe them, and that someone in this earth would behold these boundaries and uphold these boundaries as a standard of righteousness. Though we be few and far between in the land of exile, nevertheless it is our duty and our job to do so. May Yah strengthen us in this task. We'll finalize our thoughts tomorrow, and until then, shalom.